inconceivable. But thank you for the update.
I'm with you. I don't like any of them, but, you know, when we talked to the town at the last subcommittee meeting, they said, you know, come in with a level budget and then tell us what would happen. This is what would happen.
That's,
You know, which poison pill do you want to take? Let me just go to the next one, if you don't have any other questions in terms of the cuts. These are some of the things that we have been talking about. Some of these we have talked about, some of these are new. We did, when the people came down to do the study on the transportation, they said some places charge $1 or $2 a day for students to get transported on the buses. Still cheaper than a taxi. If we go down to students in 7th grade through 12th grade, that could generate another $139,000 or so. Then that's just based on this year. It doesn't mean that we'd have the same kind of numbers riding the buses, because we haven't seen it in sports, but I'm always leery that when you increase the fees, whether parents will choose not to participate or students will choose not to participate. So these are based on current use, and in no way am I saying that we would get exactly that amount. Pre-K, I know we have kept it at the same amount for many, many years. It's one of those things that, you know, for the young families, it'd be nice to, if we didn't have to do this or didn't have to do any of it. But there is a possibility of going up about 25%. Some of the other schools charge similar amounts if we were to increase it. But again, I'm leery of doing these kind of things, because you're going to go after the youngest of our families, and you know, I'm afraid that people won't send their kids to pre-K if it's too expensive. Obviously, this doesn't include students with special needs, because they go for free, but we do want other parents to send their kids to preschool, and you know, the only way we can do it at this point in time is by charging fees, and if we increase the fees, I think some of them will opt not to. Before and after school supervision, again, we have a program outside of the schools that is providing some after school supervision. We kicked around the idea of maybe providing some supervision before and after school and using the money to supplement our budget. Again, not something that I would like to do to encroach on another not-for-profit in the town, but you know, they are using our school and they are our students, and if we were to provide the service, we could keep some of the funding back into the school. Lunch, I know Michelle brought this up, and again, it's a give or take. We could increase the cost of the lunches. Many of the surrounding schools have already done this. But I don't know if the same number of students that participate now would participate with the increase. So again, these are numbers that are not set in stone. If we don't cut sports and activities, you could try to take another stab at increasing the fees for those. The activities wouldn't really generate that much, but any bit that you increase would be something. And again, I have a hard time with these, because my fear is that they would decrease people participating in stuff that they really should have, you know. But without additional funding, I honestly don't know where to go other than to either increase revenue streams like fees or decrease costs by making some cuts somewhere. Questions on these?
Mr. Sullivan. Well, my comment goes, another cost reduction, enhancing revenues, and quick question. Utilities, I don't see an adjustment to utilities to to meet the anticipation of energy savings, we're going to
I
be...
have an answer for that.
Okay, that's...
I am expecting to see some savings, particularly here at the high school with a new roof, and if we can get some insulation under the decking, that'd be great. The middle school certainly with new windows, and maybe even the MAC with new roofing as well. My only concern is everything that I read that has nothing to do with schools, has to do with, the price of tea in China, and more appropriately, the price of oil. My expectation is utilities and heat will go up. So my hope, and part of the long-range planning was, if we can get these buildings more efficient, it will offset the increase that I'm expecting to see in the price of heating and in the price of electricity to the buildings. So I wasn't trying to quantify it at this point. Perhaps when we get the designer in line with the green projects, they can give us some estimates of what expectation of savings we could see. And if those expectations far outstrip the expectation of an increase in the price of oil or heating and and electricity, then certainly we could apply it to the budget. But at this point, I'm being very cautious that if we're going to see an increase, right now it went back down a little bit, but we're still at $3 for a tank of gas, and that's unleaded. So.
Gallon of a tank.
Well, gallon, sorry.
I wish it was a
yes.
gallon of a tank.
My
I
truck,
don't
trust
know
me,
what
goes
it is.
about, I don't even want to talk about my truck.
And I know with that comment, I was jumping ahead, but just because the revenue options, most of them are also not palatable. The idea of increasing bus transportation a couple of dollars a day sounds like it's not that much money, but when you start to recognize it's $10 a week per child, it starts to have an impact. And so as I look at these, I just immediately start looking for cost containment, and so we've got some work to do ahead of us. And I think getting in touch with the people that are preparing the state budget going forward, we have to send out the message now and ask for their understanding of at least they have to know where we sit right now. It's not a pretty picture.
I did meet with both a representative and state senator in this past week, knowing that I didn't give them the numbers because I figured you guys need them first. But I did mention that I was a little annoyed with the way the budget was presented at the state level, that schools are being held harmless, don't worry about it, the schools are fine. And like you mentioned, that is not true. We're going to see this year the cuts that were done 2-3 years ago. And we're still being affected by the cuts we did last year. So I did mention that to them, and I said, any support to the towns and the schools that you could provide once you are up there at the big house, please consider us. So hopefully, I know the Day on the Hill is coming.